Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and welcome to another episode of Transfer Market Metrics. It's been a while, ladies and gents, for this one. I'm not going to lie, but there's been about 8,000 different links, 8,000 different players that might be coming in. A few already signed, which is pleasant early on in the transfer window. But we've got to talk about who else may be joining them. And I'm joined after a fair hiatus, it's fair to say. He's been sunning himself for a while, so he needs to get back earning his corn. Bart, how are we?
Yeah, not bad, mate. Not bad.
Well, we'll get right into it. And do you know what, ladies and gents? 3 names who I suspect you've heard recently, but just get ready for this because Neville Carragher and Sky Sports are about to shit their pants. Because what we're going to do for you, ladies and gents, is just focus on it a little bit differently than we're used to. So if we look at the pitch, Barts, we can see Liverpool, it's already taking shape for next season, isn't it? I mean, when you look at players that have come in, and we're never guaranteed, I appreciate that, and people will be screaming in the chat panel already, but Milos Kerkez in on the left-back position, that flying fullback, maybe rivaling Conor Bradley. Jeremy Frimpong, he'll be bombing down that wing as well. And then this will cause debate, but the mighty Florian Wirtz, whether he's coming from the left, whether he's a false nine, and people, you can debate whether Diaz is in the team, etc., and all that. But as we stand today, when you look at that lineup, Barts, does it excite you?
Oh, 100%. I think everyone has an opinion about where they're going to play, but I mean, as a set of 11 players, that's a phenomenal set of players, isn't it? I mean, you and I could probably go, I don't know whether there's probably 1 or 2 there where we're not sure they'll be there or whether we'll get another player in, but as an 11, that's more, for me, more than good enough to maintain to be competing for the title, definitely, if not setting the bar.
Love it. And when you look at that side, ladies and gents, there's pace been added, there's all sorts been added, but it's the defensive positions and centre-back especially we're going to talk about tonight. And those who are a bit more eagle-eyed may have seen there's 3 down the bottom that we're going to analyse. And reference some of them before. It's important to say that a few journalists that have referenced this, Liverpool are looking for centre-halves. We've been linked to, you've probably heard who we've been linked to, but also looking at future options, the next Virgil van Dijk, which probably proves impossible, but you've got to do it at some time with 2 years left to go. Now, based on what we're going to look at tonight, Bart, how would you sum up this collection of 3?
I think there's probably, like, one's definitely can go in and do a job, right? Because one of them plays in the Premier League and he's international, right? And I think the other 2, as we were chatting before we coming on, I think you have to kind of say they're kids. They could be good, but you can't. It's unfair to compare them with Van Dijk, right? So it's kind of, can they add something to that squad? And they're more of a Quansah replacement, should we say, rather than one of them. I would suggest could come in and be part of a 3-man rotation if Kanate starts, and not a lot of us would have a problem with that, to be honest with you. But the other 2, I think you're probably looking at they're coming in to be a, the Quansah Gomez type role with less rotation. So but they're all. I mean, I think this is the thing that you and I have chatted many times. The boys we're scouting now are good players. They're all good players. Yeah, I mean, it's not like we're looking at Ben Davies coming in on a £1 million deal to play centre half because we're a bit short. We're talking here. These are international players, and they're all good players. They're just at different stages of their career, and you have to take into account. But no, I'd be happy with any of them signing, to be honest with you. That's my honest opinion straight away.
Yeah, well, that's a big declaration, but we're going to have to get into it, aren't we? 3 centre-backs, maybe ones who can play other positions, it's important to say at the same time. But we'll line them up, Bart. We'll see what we make of them. And the first place to start, I suppose it's right to start with the youngest, isn't it, in all honesty?
Yeah.
Jorrel Hato. Dutch youngster. An absolute favourite, it's important to say, of Virgil van Dijk, which is a starting point. Predominantly left back, has played a few games at centre half as well. Intrigued by this one, Bart. What are we making of Jorrel Hato?
I mean, I've done this a couple of times before, probably. I'm not sure, but I think he's a good kid. Players are not always the best judges of other players. I would say that, and that's not having a go at Virgil. I'm just saying, if you watch any of the football coverage, there'll be pundits calling out players left, right, and centre, and you're like, that's an awful take. So let's try and put that to one side. Virgil has an opinion. That's fine. The other thing that you and I have said is that he hasn't played enough games at centre half to even get a profile on a publicly available site, right? Yeah. So it's very difficult when you see him being mentioned. Yes, I think he played. He definitely started and finished the last game of the season for Ajax at centre half. Yeah. They won, and the last two before that, I think he played half of a lot of minutes at centre half. So maybe he's moving into more role, but that's still not a huge chunk of time to be saying, yeah, he's a centre half, should we say? But in terms of an overall report, looking a bit more deep than we did before, I mean, some of the things that he's picked out for defensively as a centre half coming in, there's not many of the high 90s that we would see, right? He's good at stopping dribblers, so he's stopped dribblers at a high percentage. It's a 97%, which is if he's playing fullback, you're probably going to get a lot more of that. He doesn't lose a lot of challenges, and he tackles in the middle third. So that's again an area we want to see. We don't want to see him tackling in the defensive third. So that's okay. In terms of what's he doing on the ball, though, so because he's playing a lot more fullback, he's carrying the ball a bit more. Yeah, so he's carrying it in the 84th percentile. Progressively, not so much, and doesn't carry it into the final third. So seemingly he gets to a point and then doesn't continue that run and passes it off. In terms of his passing stats, which are further up, I'm just going to get to that. So pass types, he has a good pass completion, which is what you'd see, but he plays for Ajax. They're one of the most dominant teams in Eredivisie. In a very lopsided league, there's two teams in that league, pretty much. No offense to Dutch people, but that's kind of how it is. So he's got 95% pass completion, right? Through balls played is in 98th percentile, so he clearly can play a ball. Switches only in the 18th. Now, we all know that's one of Virgil's big things. Yeah, Virgil's ability to pick the ball up, switch it from left to right into normally Mo or whoever's playing there is one of our key weapons. So if you're going to come in and play that side, or if you're going to play the other side, you've got to have that in your locker because it helps us, particularly if we've got flying fullbacks, as your diagram would have said, both of them are going to play pretty high. You want to be able to hit them from a variety of distances. So that's something that he's low on, should we say. But he does attempt a lot of passes, 85th percentile for a defender. So that's good, right? Possession base, he's on the side. In terms of types of passing, so again, that long passing isn't really his game. When he does attempt it, he's in 99th percentile, but he's just not actually attempting that many. So maybe it's something to do with him getting more experience and used to it. Short game, as we'd expect, playing for Ajax, short and medium game, he's in the 90th percentile for all of that. So that's good. He clearly can play, 20, 30, 40-yard balls or the 5, 10-yard balls with ease. Very, very easily. So he's comfortable on that, which is what you want. But defensively, aerials at the fullback is in the 88th percentile, right? But you and I both know that his actual metric for that isn't that great. If I'm trying to get that up, because this is one of the concerns I have for a lot of these three coming in is there you go, aerial win rate of 56%.
He's not big either.
And he's not big. So we've already reduced the size of our side. Yeah, if Bart is going to play, you're not going to spend 160 million euro on a player and not play, right? But he's smaller than the player that he is coming in for. If Nunes goes, that's another tall player. Whatever, if Diaz doesn't go, that's another tall player. You've got Mac and Grav. One is not great aerially and one's short. both fullbacks are not great aerially now coming in, Frimpong and Kirkes. So you are losing a lot of height. So yeah, although as a kid, you still have to say these things. I think if you profile a player, whether he's playing a fullback or at centre half, I mean, in terms of some of his individual stuff, things that I was quite impressed by him. Again, on the ball things, right?
Yeah,
There's quite a lot of threat being produced from his areas of the park, right? That's for a kid playing for Ajax. Quite impressive heat map in terms of EPV, and I'll show you when we look at some other players. You'll see that it's not as impressive. And I know Eredivisie, yada, but still, he's a kid doing. It's got that tax, right? But he's on the ball. He's got a fairly good whack and wheel for a kid. He takes up this left-hand side position, so this left-hand channel. When he's played centre half this game, so he's the left-hand side of that. So yeah, there is some things that you sort of look at and you go, I can understand that. He's got some strong connections. Yeah, here he is playing out triangles around. So a lot of the rhomboid shapes that we would see from Virgil or others, he's involved in some patterns that we're used to. It's just not the big balls out to the right wing that he's not necessarily involved with. And he's on the ball a decent amount of time, for what he is in this game. But yeah, I think I still go back to that aerial win rate. Is he really he's not going to be a starter. He's going to compete with Jorrel Quansah. And if you compare him with Jorrel Quansah, their red is Hato and Quansah is blue. So Quansah is better at him as progressive passes received, touches, carries and take-ons and blocks. So everything else is kind of equal. So it's are we swapping out? We're basically swapping out the same player. If you could say that from looking at the profiles, right? They're apart from one's played a lot in the Premier League, one's played fullback, more than centre half. But yeah, I'm not sure you're gaining much at the moment by bringing it. I don't know what the cost is. What would his price be?
So this is what's tough, because you take Quansah as a reference, as you say, a little bit older, 3 years older. It's important to take Quansah 22. Hato is 19. Quansah, of course, far bigger in the air, far more natural in that regard. So that comes into the mix as well. The deal with Leverkusen, again, you're never fully sure what's been agreed, shall we say, in regards to the words of it and that bit. But 35 million, the package and a buyback clause in there as well. Suggestions are that Hato will be around the 30 to 35 million mark at the same time.
Yeah. So you're basically swapping up. I mean, by the way, Quansah's aerial rate this year is 40%. So that dropped a bit from 67 last year.
Yeah.
So yeah, a 3 years younger player who's not really played that much centre half, has played more left back. Yeah. I think this is still, I think we said way back in the thing, he looks like he's got a bit of promise. He does seem like he's got some threat into his game, which he can help create and build from the back. But aerially, he's still not where we would need him to be as a defender. There's not enough data for him to play centre half. I'm not sure we're going to gain much by bringing him in for the same price. Effectively, we're selling the player. That's all I'd say to him. I'm not hating on him. I quite like the player, but for us right now, in terms of a move, I'm not sure that's what we want to do to keep ourselves up there. I'd rather us get a third player in the rotation and have Gomez as your cover, if that makes sense.
Is it almost as stark as well? I mean, the pros are that Virgil's anointed him, but like you say, Fergie anointed the Moisire, and look how that went overall. So that comes into the mix. Eredivisie, not the biggest, good player obviously on the ball, no doubts about it, but to then face Premier League centre forwards and the physicality, and that was the info we got, the big, huge question marks against that at the same time. And also, as you said, possibly a high ceiling, there's a little bit of uncertainty around that. But for where we are right now, assuming obviously when the Quansah deal completes, just if you took our collection of centre halves, he is so far behind Van Dijk, Konate and Gomez. Gomez fit pending before people jump on that. And also with Kirkes coming in, Hard to see him getting any minutes at left back. Is it one that a talented player, no doubts, but maybe just not for us right now?
Yeah, and I think we honestly said that the last time we looked at this player. I think there's no doubt this guy is talented, and I'm fairly confident he will go on to have a top career, right? And but where he plays, I don't know yet. But for us, what we need, I can't see a case for us signing him right now. Last summer, maybe. This summer, no.
No, it doesn't really have that feeling, does it?